You mentioned the Navy SEALs. Like, when people ask you what was that like, what do you end up usually telling people? Like, it's probably not what they think it is, but then maybe it's things that they would have never imagined that it is. So what do you usually tell people, or upon reflection that you've been out of it now for a little while, what was it for you? What did it mean for you being in that experience?
It's most of the questions now I find bigger than they're big questions, right? When you've done 20 plus years, and just like any career, there's so many different emotions and so many different experiences that it's become harder actually for me to really interpret it all. Because I think in fragments almost now, like, oh, there's that time at that, and there's this time, and then there was that time, and there was these guys and these other guys that you get to know, and that you're your brothers, and the guys that you knew when you first got there, you don't know by the end, right? Or they're dead. So it's like there's a lot of trade-off going on all the time, and special operations moves at the speed of light to begin with, right? So, and when you're not on the train, man, it's gone. But obviously an awesome experience. Being able to kind of serve the greater good, and then also like really understanding, what patriotism really is, right? So those are probably the things I reflect on now. It's like, man, it was always, you don't realize what a great feeling it is to be part of something that's doing the greater good, right? I mean, it's not about a paycheck. It's not about anything other than going and doing great things with great guys for 20 years straight. And then when you really sat and go, that it was a higher level of patriotism. I still feel like I've got a higher level of patriotism than most, because I appreciate far more than probably the average person, right? I mean, if they don't go experience it and kind of get outside of themselves, and serve something other than themselves, it's a saying. The thing I always say is, very few serve, most serve themselves, right? And that's globally. And most people are just looking out for themselves their entire life. And I feel like it is serving the greater good is what gives you the higher level of patriotism. And so I wouldn't trade it for the world. But, just like any other career, it's got its highs and lows. And, one day you're working with the greatest guy on the planet, the next day you're working with an idiot. I mean, it's just it's just like everything else,
Do you think you can truly know what patriotism is if you haven't done that kind of a deep service like that for the country, where you're really sacrificing your life? Is it hard to know that? You can't just visit the Liberty Bell, can you, to really understand patriotism? Would you say that or not?
No, I don't think you need to. It necessarily applies to like serving in the military, but serving and overseas. I mean, you've got on the religious side, you have people that do churches that do missions, and that, they're going over and kind of seeing reality, if you will, and then coming back, and they certainly know, okay, it's good to be here, right? And then there's different capacities of service. And I feel like, yeah, I think that's important. I think, I've kind of always admired the Israelis, that they make everyone serve. I kind of wonder, like, well, we should all be doing that, right? Like, yeah. Even if it's just 2 years, right? They just have a 2-year minimum. But, it's, I think we here in this country would be better for it if something like that was, but you can't obviously inject something like that now.
Yeah.
You kind of have to start that way.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in Israel over there, and I must say I believe that conscription I think one thing it kind of does is gets everybody on the same page. Now, of course, it's kind of a unique situation because they are surrounded by enemies, and they're small.
Oh, yeah.
And they're new, and so they kind of have to. So maybe it's because of that too. But since everyone does that service, and I think every day they're reminded how important it is, everybody is kind of on the same page. Now, I'm sure they have ideological differences and disagreements, but when everyone has kind of done time, it definitely, I think there's just maybe a different awareness level of.
Yeah, and I think the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think it's most of the secondary effect stuff. Yes, primary, they have to because, they don't have a choice. And they don't have the population. They don't have the numbers, right? That's why everybody has to serve. But the secondary, the residual, the camaraderie, knowing that, you're standing shoulder to shoulder with people on the subway that have all done their time is to me, that's like, wow, that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
It's kind of like for us, if another SEAL, you know what we've all been through. We've all been through Hell Week. We've all graduated buds. We all went through, the advanced SEAL training stuff. We've all been through different SEER courses. And when you know that you're with someone who's been through all that same, some of it's just hell, right? There is a certain level of confidence that you have in one another, right? Because of it, and I think that's huge for like a population of Israel to be able to do that with one another. I think that's pretty cool.
The greedy bankers are about to do it again. In 2008, they crashed our financial system and nearly bankrupted the entire global economy. Then they received trillions of dollars in government bailouts. And after, they demanded fat bonuses paid for by you, the taxpayer.
It turns out the banks haven't just been screwing the American taxpayers, they're also screwing over their investors. Turns out the banking industry is the worst place you could put your money, despite enormous taxpayer bailouts.
Now the bankers are back to take away your financial freedom. They lie and tell you that cryptocurrency isn't safe. They try to make it illegal for you to choose how to invest your hard-earned money. They lie and say cryptocurrency is used by money launderers and criminals. But look at the record. It's the banks themselves that launder hundreds of billions of dollars every year to the biggest criminal operations in the world.
Leaked documents have revealed how some UK banks have helped criminals, money launderers and Russians under sanctions.
American authorities discovered that the Sinaloa cartel moved $881 million through HSBC accounts as bank officials turned a blind eye to the illegality.
The bankers lie and say cryptocurrency is not a real investment. Meanwhile, the smartest CEOs in the world are buying billions and billions of it. The truth is that banks lie about cryptocurrency because it makes them scared. The banks take $9 trillion per year of your hard-earned money, and they are worried that they will finally be exposed. They're scared because crypto means they can no longer control your money, which means they can no longer control you. They are scared because you might actually understand your money and intelligently decide what to do with it. Now is the time for us to come together, fight back, and take control. It's time to educate ourselves, our families, and our communities. Because financial education means financial freedom. We know that cryptocurrencies will help us build the new decentralized financial system of the future. A banking system that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A banking system where access to finance is a fundamental human right. A banking system that is free and fair and welcomes all humans on this earth. The DeFi revolution is happening. We, the people, can no longer be fooled. We choose to take control of our finances. We choose to take control of our freedom. We choose to take control of our future. Join us, and let's take back our financial freedom forever.